Hello, rebels and rule breakers. I am here with Matthew Kiveal-Duffy, and we are having a right good laugh about the past. Matt's telling me stories about things that I didn't know about myself in many years gone by. Would have been the early 2000s?
Probably, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
That's so
Before the
funny.
digital age, before people could talk about it and put it on social media, yeah.
I remember, so for those of you who are wondering what we're on about, Matt and I used to work at O2 together, or what was BT Cellnet, and then became O2. And that was in the times where people were saying, "Ooh, that text messaging lark, that'll never take off."
And who were happy to pay
on their phone?
Yeah. And people would pay £75 a month for 1,000 minutes, 1,000 texts, and that was what they got.
Yeah.
O2 Max, that was the days, wasn't it?
And now you're paying 75 quid a month just for the phone. And everyone was outraged when they started charging for phones, or even when they extended contracts to more than a year. Do you remember that? No, you couldn't get a year contract now, could you?
No.
Anyway, reminiscing.
Yes.
So this is Matt, also known today only as Uncle Knobhead. How are you today, Matt, for the benefit of the audience?
all good, same. It's what, at the moment, everything's weird. I mean, if I was to say to you last night about midnight, my stepdad went back into hospital for the umpteenth time, but you kind of just get on with it, don't you? You go, it's the normal now, isn't it? So, yeah, he's in hospital, whatever. He's been in hospital about God knows how many times. He'll be home again tomorrow, we just get on with it. So, yeah, but apart from that, everything's good. Yes.
Good. Matt is not in a chopper, as it may appear. He's actually in his car, but it does very much look like he's about to go flying, doesn't it? We've got two people with us. Guys, if you could comment and let us know who's here, that would be great. Go on, what were you going to say, Matt?
I was just thinking, I was just going to mention with the car thing, the fishbowl that you used to pick people out. It was quite nice to be picked out of a fishbowl because I have a Renault key card, and when you put them in fishbowls, nobody picks them. So.
Do you do that a lot? Let's not go there.
Well,
not social distance.
It's not that type of group, is it? No.
Oh, no, it's not. But you certainly couldn't anyway, could you, in this day and age? You'd have to stay 2 meters apart and all that. That's, it'd be no fun.
That's why I've been sleeping on the sofa, isn't it now?
Yeah, that'll be why.
Yeah.
Someone's saying cooey, but I can't tell who it is because it just says Facebook user. You have to give StreamYard permission. Otherwise it doesn't show your names and photos. So just write in who you are that's saying cooey to us right now.
Is it Sue Pollard?
It could be. That's a reference that only people our age and older will understand.
Yeah, Heidi hi, Hody ho, yeah. Anyway.
Anywho, I'm going to read a little bit of an intro about Matt, who is today's rebel role model, and then we're going to chit chat about all sorts of stuff. So Matt has an intro that goes a little like this. I can't tell you how I became the person I am today, but I got here. My first rebellious act was probably the 27th of June, 1985. An accidental meeting with a cricket bat in the school playground led to a removal of a 4-ounce blood clot on the brain, a brain hemorrhage. 2 hours later, 3 attempts at dying, and a rush baptism and reading of the last rites. I went home 11 days later. The only challenges this created for me were career-based. I always wanted to be a policeman or join the RAF, and both knocked me back. I do believe that things happen for a reason, and without diversions, you can't find an alternative route to wherever. That is so perfect for this group.
I think I stole it, if I'm honest, from somewhere. I can't tell you where, but I probably stole it. Yeah, it seems a bit profound for me, that, if I'm honest.
It's very good, and it's absolutely you, isn't it? Because I remember years ago, in fact, I remember Rippers. Do you remember that time there was a few of us? I can't remember who else was there apart from me, you, and Rippers. We went to Leeds for a trip, for like a work thing in someone's car. And
it was bad weather, and it took ages to get there.
Yeah, and we stopped for breakfast, even though we weren't supposed to, and we knew we'd be late. And then Rippers said to you, Matt, what's that thing? What's that thing on your head? Your scar it was. And then she said, "Do you mind if we call you Flip Top?" Do you remember that?
It's stuck. You know what? I've had over the years. There's so many nicknames, and Flip Top is one that I quite like myself.
Good.
So, I mean, Flip Top, Barcode, Data, so many others. Duck, that was one of my favourite ones.
Oh, that's quite cute. Now, Percy's just kicking off a minute. I just need to, well, he's humping again. I just need to tell him off. Hang on. There we go.
Is he humping something noisy?
He's humping a big cushion in the hall that he lies on. And I can just hear him like scrabbling around on the floor, which is a sure sign.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He's been perfectly still all morning, fast asleep all morning, and now he decides to get active.
So he just waits for this, yeah.
So that was quite an early life for you, wasn't it? An early life major event.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I was 11. Yeah, well, I don't know if it did or not, because, I mean, I always think, when I think about it now, as an adult, I think, well, that happened when I was 11, and I've had this big hole inside my head for longer than I haven't, a lot longer than I haven't. So I kind of don't know any different, but it's kind of, I look at things like, for example, I've married, I've got 2 children, live in Liverpool, and I'm thinking, if I'd have joined the police or the Air Force, the chances are I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have been in the place where I met my wife, or I wouldn't have met you, too. Who knows? There's all these things. So
that's true.
I do think everything happens kind of for a reason, and you have to think like that, I think, because otherwise,
Yeah, I agree. And it's like that sliding doors thing, isn't it? You're in certain places and certain micro decisions create the life that you've got now. It's really quite strange to think of it like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been different. I could have met my wife. I mean, my wife, strangely, a few years ago, she was working for NAFI, who were on all the airbase and everything. And it could well have been, she was working on an airbase years ago, and it could well have been our paths could have crossed there, you never know. But unlikely, I mean, how we met, it was completely different. She came on a coach holiday where I was the driver, which is a completely random fact as well, yeah.
Oh, wow. Where were you driving?
Italy for the Millennium New Year. So the background of it was the Christmas before, she'd been with a person, we'll call him, for a number of years, and just before Christmas it broke up, and she spent that Christmas on her own. She went, I'm not doing it again. I'm going away on holiday next year. So she told her parents. I mean, obviously she's a grown woman. She was 30 then, but they weren't happy about her going away on her own. So unbeknown to her, they booked on the same holiday as well, as did her godparents. So it ended up being a full family affair. I know. So it ended up, everyone turned up there, and you're like, okay then. And I remember first setting eyes on Jen and thinking, oh, because it was a Blue Rinse Brigade we took on holiday, essentially. Everybody over the 80s, someone would have pulses. And I saw this young person thinking, oh, this is interesting. And I spent most of the 12 days trying to get to know her, and she wasn't even basically batting an eyelid at me. So 8 months later, I finally got a date with her. So it was worth it. I know it took 8 months.
How did you manage to win her over?
I still don't know. I think it was maybe it was drugs. I don't know.
You just like cornered her.
If you keep saying to someone, can I do that? Can I do that? Can I do that? And eventually go, for God's sake, yes. I think it was that. So we'd stayed in touch, and I'd been messaging quite a bit, and stayed in touch. And the kind of deciding factor for me was I was still working abroad at the time, and talking about mobile phones again. And I got my phone bill through from T-Mobile, something it was, and it was £650 for 1 month. And that was because I'd sent 2,500 text messages from Italy to England, and I'm like,
oh my God.
And then I checked out the hotel at the end of that trip, and the hotel said, can you settle your room bill? And that was £400 because I'd been talking to her on the phone as well. And I thought, this is it. I can't do this anymore. So I said to her, right, I'm home for a couple of days. It's my birthday on this day. Do you want to go out for a drink? And she went, yeah, go on then. And it kind of took off from there, I suppose. And then by some strange coincidence, I injured my back quite badly only a few weeks later, and ended up not being able to do that job for a while. And then I decided, actually, I don't want to do that job now. So, yeah, So it works out again, all for a reason, isn't it? That's the way we look at
Oh,
it.
that's nice. Bless her.
It is, I
And how
suppose.
long have you been married now?
Married. What year are we in now? I've lost track. We got married in November 2003. We got married, so 17 years ish. Yeah.
Wow,
So
bless.
yeah.
And now you're a lovely family of Kiveal-Duffys.
Have you met my children?
Only
Yes.
on
No.
social media.
Yeah. They're yeah. That's another story.
Fair enough.
No, we're lucky. I mean, my children, I'll be honest, they're fantastic. I mean, I mentioned in the group as well, my eldest, Hermione, she's 15, she's ASD. Now,
Yes.
when you say ASD, it's a big, massive group, and every single
Oh,
autistic
yeah.
child and person is different. But
Mm-hmm.
she has a number of, we call them social struggles. So she basically lives in the bedroom. We see her at meal times, and that's it. And she doesn't want to talk to us any other time. Occasionally she does. She'll come out and walk the dog. And at school, she's fantastic. She's very intelligent. Every teacher wanted to teach her, and that's what we needed. So,
Wow.
apart from that, I'm like, if well, we think she's happy. So if we ask her if she's happy, she'll say, "Don't talk to me." So, but she loves school. She loves the routine. She's adapted very well to homeschooling. So it's all
Wow.
right. And then my son has some challenges of his own on the basis of the way his autistic sister treats him. But apart from that, yeah.
So that's quite a complex dynamic, isn't it, really, for a family? And yet I imagine, you kind of have to, without sort of labouring the point too much, you kind of have to break a lot of rules of the normal family thing,
Oh, yeah.
things that you should or shouldn't do, don't you?
I suppose, yeah. I mean, there's certain things as well that you think about that you can't do, but as well, I mean, there's situations you'll end up finding yourself put in. I mean, because she's autistic, and to an outsider, she doesn't look any different than any other child. I mean, I can think of one not long ago, prior to all this lockdown stuff. It was probably late last year. We were in Tesco, and she has to push the trolley, so she's pushing the trolley, and we're walking around the aisles as you do, and a couple walked out from somewhere and got between her and the trolley and us. Now, we hadn't noticed because she was behind us, just pushing the trolley. She's doing her own thing. We don't have to watch her. And anyway, so she started stressing a little bit, and she went, excuse me, and shouted at this woman. And this woman ignored her. So she bashed her with the trolley.
Right.
And this woman yelped, and I turned round, and she went, "Why did you do that for?" And I went, "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I do apologise. She's autistic." And she went, "What, you didn't need to scream at me like that, not like that, the bloody idiot." And I went, "That happens with autism. You might want to educate yourself." And I felt quite pleased with myself that I'd actually said it.
It must really kick those protective instincts in as well.
Yeah. And it was kind of, but the best thing was, of course, being a supermarket, after all that, she went off feeling a bit sheepish. And then the next hour we met them again, and then the next hour we met them again, and it carried on all around the store. So that's quite pleasing when that happened.
And you're best buddies by the end of it.
No, not at all. No, she smiled at me every time. But
let's hope that they went home and did a little bit of research and did educate themselves, because it's difficult, isn't it? It must be really difficult to sort of, because you don't want to live your child's life for her, do you? But you don't want to not teach her the things she's going to need to navigate life. That must be a real difficult balance.
Yeah, because I mean, at the back of your mind, you're always thinking, I mean, she's 15 now, and you keep thinking, when she finishes school next year, what's she going to want to do? What does she want? Will she always live with us? Will she want to go and live her own life? Will she want to go to university? And at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, she couldn't cope with that. And I'm thinking, well, why can't she? She's got through everything else. I mean, back at a very early age, when she was diagnosed, she was just before her 6th birthday. And the school teacher, who was really well up in autism, said, you'll probably find your coordination right. She won't be able to ride a bike. She won't have the same coordination, things like that. And I never taught her to ride a bike. She taught herself. She had a bike in the back garden with stabilisers on. And slowly and surely, once she kicked one of the stabilisers off, and she kicked the other one off, and she rode around on her own. I'm like, so this is a girl who can't do that, And there's a lot of things happen. When she went to high school, they said she might struggle mainstream education. We'll have to look and review that. She's fantastic in school. Every teacher loves her. Everyone knows who she is. And I'm like, so keep defying everything. Keep doing what you can. So if anything, she's probably a rebel as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it. She's rebelled against the expectations that all the experts had for her, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Definitely. Bless
So,
her.
yeah, good on her. When you think
That's
about it, you
wonderful.
think, yeah, she is,
She must
yeah.
be so
So,
proud. I remember seeing a post a while ago, actually. I don't know if it was a birthday, perhaps, and there were various photos from her over the years, and you could just feel your pride kind of coming out of that post. It was lovely to read, really lovely.
yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, you know, there's different things. I mean, I'd love to say she'll come and sit down and watch a film with us one night, but she's not going to do that, you know.
Yeah,
So,
it's not her.
occasionally she will. But, yeah, well, occasionally over Christmas, she said, let's watch a Christmas movie, and she watches it, and she drifts off halfway through. But
Yeah.
and then you'll say to her what happened in that film, and she'll tell you word for word exactly what went on in
Wow.
that film. We had that with a school teacher a few years ago. A teacher who said to us at parents' evening, said, I made the mistake of thinking she wasn't listening. So she was looking out the window, and I said to her, what did I just say? And she said she recited every single word verbatim to me. And I looked silly in front of the class. Yeah. And I thought, yeah, that's her. You know, that's what she's about. So, yeah.
I remember at high school my parents were brought in by Mrs. Tice, the French teacher, because I looked like I was disinterested in her classes.
Is it just that you didn't like French?
Eh?
You just didn't like French?
Well, I actually loved French. That was the thing. It's one of my favourite lessons. And my dad said, actually, she keeps telling us how much she's enjoying learning French. And my dad said, it's just because it just runs in the family. I've got a deadpan face as well. And I think because of that, I learned to be probably a lot more expressive than I naturally would be, but it feels natural now.
Yeah, I think I do deadpan quite well, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's just quite easy to go, you know.
Yeah,
and like,
screensaver face, I call it.
Yeah, and I had no intention of growing up.
No.
I mean, there's a colleague, you know, too, we got in trouble a while ago. We used to have stare-offs, so we just stare at each other.
What, across the contact centre?
Well, literally, you know, like on the same pod almost, same bank of desks. And we'd have a stare off, and it would be like the first one to look away loses. And like 6 or 7 minutes later, you're still staring at that person. People think there's something wrong with you. But, you know, it's a deadpan thing. I can just switch off and go, right, okay, I can stare at you till it freaks you out. So, yeah.
Oh my God, I can so imagine you doing that. So you shared a post with us the other day that was written 4 years ago.
Yes.
It really inspired some people. I know it really, really resonated a lot. Give us a little tiny snapshot of that, if you will. What was the origins?
I mean, when you say depression, a lot of people don't like talking about it. And I look at it like it's part of the recovery. There was something a doctor said to me years ago. I went to see the GP once when I was feeling a bit, I don't know, different. I use the word different. And this GP said to me, if you came into me and said, here's my leg, and my leg's got a cut in it or something, he said, I can look at your leg and go, right, you've got a problem there. He said, with the nervous system and all this, he said, until you lay that out on the table in front of me, I can't see that. So it was kind of, I mean, the one that happened, so 2016, that was part of, build up of little things.
Yeah.
So I've had moments before. I actually had a moment after my son was born. I was diagnosed with prenatal depression. Postnatal depression I had. And I was completely shocked, and I thought, I'm a man, how can I have postnatal depression? And it was just literally, my wife had a little bit of a traumatic birth. So at the end, things had got a little bit hairy and they had to do something. And he came out and he was a bit blue and then he was fine. But about 10 days after he was born, what used to happen with both children, in the night when they woke up, I used to get up, feed them, change them, give them to my wife, she'd do the feeds. And that's the way we did it as a routine. And he once started crying about 1:15 in the morning. Instead of getting up to change him, I got up and started getting dressed. And Jen went, what are you doing? I went, I'm going. She went, what do you mean I'm going? I went, I'm going. She's like, where are you going? I went, don't know, I'm going. And she went, get back into bed and go to sleep. So I just got back into bed. Didn't think anything of it. And then the next morning, I remember, I went into Hermione. And in the night, she had one of these baby, like, romper sleep suits on. And the nappy she had underneath, she'd managed to kick the nappy off and it was in the foot of the romper suit. Don't ask me how. And she'd wet the bed. And at that point, I decided I'd failed as a father. I don't know why. I just had this thing. And so it ended up, Jen's trying to sort out a newborn, a less than 2-year-old, and me in the corner rocking, giving it all this. And
oh my God.
So she brought her mum round, and my mother-in-law's fantastic. My mum went, get yourself to the doctors. And I'm like, and I went to the doctors, and she went postnatal depression, and I laughed at her. And she said about 36% of new fathers have postnatal depression. And I was
Wow.
like, that really kind of threw me.
That's weird. And no, no one talks about this. Wow.
Well, no one thinks about it because the man just thinks, my wife's got all the pressure, I'm going to work, I'll get on with it. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. So that was kind of my first wobble. And then I think 2016, the things that were going on were Hermione was due to start high school. So I was a bit stressed about her fitting in. It's a big thing for her. You know, the primary school she felt really safe in, and we were quite worried about it. And then there's things about she can't get a bus on her own, partly because if she comes home, she got a bus on her own, for example, she comes to a pedestrian crossing to cross over, she'll press the button. That man turns to a green man, she goes, I go on green man. She won't think that there's a car that's going to come to a red light or not see it and what have you. So, because her mind is thinking, I cross on the green man. So at the time, my mother-in-law, who was kind of going to be on school run duty, she was due to have an operation on her feet, which meant she wouldn't drive for a number of weeks. And we had this little build-up of things. I was kind of thinking, I'm stressing about Hermione starting school. I'm stressing about how she's going to get to school, how she's going to get home from school. And there's a few things. And at the time, the job I was doing in O2, I decided I hated it. I'd got to the stage, and I remember just being there one day and thought, I wasn't myself. And my wife had been saying to me, you're horrible. You're just nasty. You can't speak to you. I was snapping at everybody and everything. And if you work in customer service, I'm hoping some people relate to it. In customer service, you put on this big, like, smiley face and then go home face. So you walk in through the doors of the building and people say, you all right? And you go, yeah, everything's great. And then you walk out and you go, it's not.
Yeah.
So I'd had a while of feeling like that. And eventually, I mean, I put in the post, Jen had said to me, go to the doctors, I'm going to kick you out. It was literally almost like that. And I went to the doctor and the doctor went, so why are you here? And I went, got no idea. Don't know why. Maybe my wife said I've got to come. And it was just as simple as that. And I burst into tears.
Oh,
and that was kind of the biggest thing. And at that point I thought, yeah. So usual thing, they said, it's form you fill in every time. Do you want to harm yourself? Do you want to do this? Do you want to? And I thought, and throughout it, I never once thought I want to harm myself. My thought was I wanted to just run away from everybody. Yeah. If that makes sense. Just go and sit in a dark room on my own.
Yeah.
So I was referred for these training, CBT training. And then eventually I got referred to this sort of group session. See, this group session, you go there and there's 16 other depressed people, and you go in there and they tell you, oh, they're depressed, and you come out feeling 10 times worse than you did at the start of it.
Yeah.
That's what I did for me, because every time you went there, someone would be doom and gloom, and I'm like, geez, I'm thinking I'm not this bad.
Yeah.
So I took medication, and I stuck with the medication, and gradually, I suppose I got there. I think one of the other effects on it was I'd had surgery on my back in the end of 2014 or 15, and I'd spent 6 months off work whilst I was recovering. So I had this kind of 6 month routine. I couldn't sit down for most of that 6 months, so I was spending my time lying on a beanbag on the floor sort of thing. I was eating my meals standing up with these plastic boxes and a plate because I couldn't sit down and I couldn't drive. And I think that kind of, it all just had a rolling effect, is the best way of putting it. So
it adds on top and on top and on top.
Yeah,
on top.
And it just kind of got to the stage where, you know, if you keep it's like a can of pop. If you keep shaking it and then shaking it and shaking it, when you open it, it's going to explode. And I think that's how I did.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did say then, will he ever be recovered? And I don't think, no. I mean, I'm in a place now where I'm doing much better. About 12 months ago, I decided to come off medication because I didn't like the fact it made me into a zombie. You know, my kids used to say to me, why do you fall asleep all the time? And I thought, I can't keep blaming it on these drugs, you know. So, and I'm not saying I won't ever go back on the medication. And, you know, I'm not saying that I won't ever have a blip where I go completely crazy again. But at the moment, I feel fine, you know. So there's a number of challenges, and sometimes you think, not again. But, you know, I feel more on top of it than I was then. So, I mean, this year, I think 2020 and Lumberers have had terrible times. I mean, we've lost a number of relatives, COVID related, not COVID related. You know, my uncle passed away in August. He'd never been in hospital in his life. He'd a perfectly healthy man. He was 79, but, you know, just before Christmas, my wife's auntie passed away, and her husband contracted COVID whilst visiting in hospital, and then he passed away. New Year's Eve. So I mean, it's kind of been all these things, but I don't think I'd have handled that 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes these things happen in your life and you think, actually, this is shit, but I can do this at the moment. And this is how far I've come. We've got someone in the comments saying, I was diagnosed with postnatal depression after my children. Really good to hear your story as a man. I've no idea who that is. Again, put your name in a comment for me because I can't see who you are. But this is so inspiring to hear, because you're so open about this whole kind of, I'm still not, I still have to deal with life's stuff and my stuff, and it may never be the end of the road, but you can make progress. I must admit, I felt quite emotional for you when you were talking about being at the doctors and so on, and
I think, but I mean, there's things that help it. Like I say, I went to that. If anyone ever gets referred to this, where they send these group training things where they talk about depression, I would say to them, don't ever do it. Because literally, I went there. No, and it was just
to have people share, like, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a term I use that was, there was that book I read that was The Art of Being Brilliant.
Yeah,
and in there, the guy Andy Cope, he talked about mood hoovers.
Yeah.
Now everyone knows these mood hoovers. I kind of refer mood hoovers a lot. And
me too.
That was a room full of mood hoovers, and I used to go in there thinking, yeah, brilliant. And then later I've come out thinking, geez, I want to, I can't do it. And it didn't work for me. And eventually I went on another training, which was kind of a CBT one. And we all sat in a room and they showed slideshows, but nobody spoke to each other. And I was kind of, don't think that's worked either. And then eventually I got one-to-one counselling with this girl, and she was fantastic. And
it's what you need,
she kind of made me look at what I've got good about things and what's different. So it's a strange thing, but yeah, it could, I know at any point something could just go ping, and I could go batshit crazy again, for the want of another word, But yeah.
It's good that, we're now in a position where I don't think even 5 years ago people would have been having conversations as open as we're having now. I think things have changed a lot. And that book that you talked about, and I would massively recommend this to everybody, actually, The Art of Being Brilliant by Andy Cope and Andy Whitaker. Andy's written books with Gavin Oates as well, hasn't he, who was also a comedian, and we'll talk about comedy in a moment. Do you know why I've met Andy a couple of times?
I was going to have one of the things where he does these kind of roadshow, these things.
Well,
I was going to go.
My friend knows him, actually.
Yeah.
In fact, you'll know who this friend is. Dave Carter. Do you remember Dave Carter?
Dave Carter was married to Heather Carter. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the retention guys. So I've stayed in touch with him over the years, because actually, weirdly, he ended up working in one of my last jobs, bizarrely. And he knows Andy, and we got in touch, and I drew a graphic of a mood hoover actually once on Twitter, and he shared it, and I was like, oh my god. So I got in touch with Andy, and I was like, listen, I'd love to work with you guys, can I come and talk to you, sort of thing. And he was like, come to this session, we're doing a corporate session, come see it. And then I saw another of their sessions run by Daryl, was it Darren or Darren?
There's a Daryl, I'm sure.
Woodman or something like that. Yeah. So
Daryl Woodman, he's a biggish fella. Yeah.
Only little he was.
Oh, is he? I don't know. Maybe I've seen the name. Yeah. It was actually I stumbled on that.
And Andy was amazing. He was like, "What can we do to work together and all this?" And it never went anywhere. But he was wonderful. And he spent loads of time with me. He was ace. We
had that thing with The Art of Being Brilliant. I stumbled on was actually through the primary school my children went to. So they have a teacher there, and she was into all this positivity and everything. And she did this Art of Being Brilliant. She went to see Andy Cope and Andy Whitaker do their big show and everything. And she got really on it, and she embraced it. And she brought it into the school for the children. So for the youngest children, year one upwards.
Yeah. He's got a teen one now as well, haven't they?
Yeah. And then they brought it through, and then they tried to get parents involved and said, come and see what it's about. And they said, try the book. And I the first time I read the book was kind of the end of 2016 when I was going through the weird, so it probably wasn't the ideal time to look at it. And I've looked at it again since and think that there's a lot you can take out of it. And I keep thinking I need to go through it properly again now, maybe,
Yeah.
because I feel now more in a better place than
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years,
It's
4 years.
a very easy read, isn't it? Because it's written with humour. There's lots of good pictures in it,
Yeah,
drawings, which are really fun. It's done very, very well, I think, because it gives you. There's a lot of sort of psychology in it, but it's not like written in those kinds of
yeah.
terms. It's just written in everyday language, and it's dead simple, and it's kind of funny.
There's something as well that when I went to that session in the school, one of the sessions, they showed this video off YouTube, and it's one that stuck with me. And I can't remember what it's called. It's called something. It's made by something by Life Jacket or something like that. And it's simply it shows a kid going down the road on his skateboard in America, and a guy comes out the shop. He's a workman, and the kid falls off his skateboard, and he stops, puts his strings down, and helps him up. And then this kid then goes and helps an old woman across the road, and the old woman passes a quarter to someone for a parking meter, and it goes right down the street. All these people doing one random thing, and at the end, there's a woman in the restaurant, and she stops and gets a glass of water and takes it to the workman, and it's the guy at the start. And you just think that circle. I'll have to find you the link and share it. Yeah, and it's fantastic. And when you watch it, it's such like a really good message. So
I love that. That's really.
I'll find it and put it. I'll put it on the group after for you if I can find it. I've got it saved somewhere, but it's just a really nice kind of how the thing turns.
Yeah.
So a little thing that means tumbling to nobody. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I think I love little things like that because it just sort of gets the message across without shoving it in your face, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've got here. You've told me a little bit in an email recently the other day about some rebels in your life that were quite influential to you. So your granddad on your dad's side was the ultimate.
Dad's side? I meant mum's side, but
did you? Oh, you put paternal.
Yeah, I probably did. Well, I suppose my granddad on my dad's side was a bit, but me granddad on my mum's side was yes. So, I mean, he passed away some 20 odd years ago, but I mean, the stories he used to tell us were, there were stories we knew, and there was also things he did that made him. Wow. So, I mean, when he was in the Air Force, not long after he died, we had his Air Force records. And when you looked at his records, he was always going up in rank, straight back down a rank, up in rank, down a rank. And it's because he used to do stupid things. So I think somehow I've inherited something. But I remember one that he told about that he ended up in trouble for was he was an airman and he was sat down in a chair in a little room or something. And this senior officer comes in and says, "Airman, you're sat in my seat." And my granddad being my granddad, he stood up immediately straight, picked the chair up, looked underneath, he put it back down, said, "I can't see your name on it," and sat down again. And he ended up in, literally in Jankers, as he called it, stuff like things like that.
Love that.
I suppose that the abiding thing that made me think he was a rebel as well is in the 80s, he ran the Royal Air Force Club at RAF Burton Wood, so the Air Force Association Club. And, there was all the old RAF people. There was a massive community of them used to come there. But somehow I should have found the picture for you. But there's a picture of him, and he used to. Bear in mind, this is in the time he was a man, probably in his late 60s, 70s. And this was 1980 when things were quite different than now. And he used to put a big T-shirt on, a Big Ben T-shirt, and he used to put balloons up to give him a fake chest, a tiara, a little wand, and a tutu on. And he'd go skipping round, on this random night. And I'm thinking, a pensioner, and he's in the 1980s doing that. Even now, you'd kind of think there's something wrong with that person. So that was one of the things that kind of stuck out for him as well.
It sounds like he had real sort of joy for life, like he knew how to get fun out of life.
Oh yeah, he was kind of I mean, he used to do. There was little things as well. When we were younger, he used to come and visit us, whatever. And before he'd go, he'd say, "Shall I take you around the block in the car?" And he had like a Nissan Estate car. He'd put us all in the boot and he'd drive around like this, and we'd be getting thrown around in the boot as you do. And then he'd take us back home and we'd be there, having bounced off the side of the car. And as he was driving up, he used to always go like that at us. So I mean, I'm talking about us being maybe, say I was maybe 8 or 9. So instinctively, someone does that, you do it back. So we'd do that back, and then my mum would tell us off. And so there was things like that made him, very...
We have a bit of a family legend that's I think a couple of my cousins are in this group. Actually, you never know, they might see it. But my auntie Julie, so she's got two daughters, Claire and Mel. obviously my cousins, and we're always laughing about this family like gesture that's developed through me Auntie Julie, which is this. So they're always like mucking about with each other and swearing at each other and kind of like taking the mick out of each other. And one day the girls were leaving the house, and Julie was stood in the front window and thought she was putting the finger up at them and didn't realise she really wasn't. She's doing this to them, thinking she was probably swearing.
Oh,
like,
so they thought, yeah.
Like that. So that's how every time there's like a mock kind of fuck you sort of a moment, we're all at.
Yeah.
Really funny.
But yeah, I mean, and my mum, I mean, I mentioned as well, I think my mum as well, she has, we say my mum has senior moments, but I mean, she's been having senior moments for as long as I can remember.
Aww.
You know, my brother was around a couple of years ago, and she was trying to phone my sister, and she said, who's messing with the television? And it was her, because she was phoning my sister on the Sky remote. But my favourite recent one was, it came up as a Facebook memory not long ago, that she was in the market and she asked the market trader for a bullshit. Yeah. Eventually, she actually went to someone and said, "Can I get a bullshit?" What she wanted was toilet paper. So I don't know.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
I should tell you, my favourite memory of my mum is, and she hates, we remind her about this still, because I remember this is my memory I was talking about earlier. So my mum and dad divorced probably late 70s. I was kind of probably only about 5. And we used to go away to Butlins. So we'd gone away to Butlins one year, Butlins at, I think it was Filey in Yorkshire. And there was myself, my oldest brother above me. My very oldest brother lived with my dad, so he didn't come. And there was my auntie, my uncle, my nan, and my granddad. Now, my mum, she'd been having a bad time, you know, she was divorced. And anyway, so the usual thing was when you were at Butlins as a kid, she didn't see us. We used to just go on the fair all day and everything. But anyway, we came back into the chalet one afternoon, and me and my brother went to go in the chalet. My brother was pushing me out again. We went, get out. And my mum was screaming. And I'm like, what's going on? And the problem was my mum was in bed with a red coat.
Oh, my God.
But the best bit about this red coat is this red coat only had one leg. So it was a one-legged red coat. And what I did see...
One-legged red coat.
Yeah, what I did see is his leg was on the dressing table on the other side of the room. But this one-legged red coat, I mean, credit to Butlins, because not only is he a one-legged red coat and he's big in the job, he was a lifeguard.
Oh, my God.
So, I know it sounds really strange, but there was this one-legged red coat. So we used to have this standing joke that he was a lifeguard, but he only ever did the round pool because he could only swim in circles and things like that, which I know is not PC. But we still remind my mum about this even now to this day, and she still denies it ever happens, but we all got a very clear memory of it, you know, her and this one-legged red coat. So
did she just trying to tell you that you dreamt it?
Yeah. No, we never went that year, you know, things like that. Yeah, but we all kind of know it happened, yeah. So
that's hilarious.
I know.
Oh my God, bless her.
if anything in my mind that makes me a bit stupid, it's definitely hereditary from somewhere. Even on my dad's side, my dad had, I mean, my dad passed away in 86. So again, I was quite young. But any of you who are from Warrington who might know this, so many years ago, Warrington, before Bridgefoot was as it was now, there used to be in the middle of Bridgefoot, there was some public toilets.
Oh, was there?
There was toilets there, and the statue of Nelson, which is now at the Guardian offices, used to be in the middle of Bridgefoot.
Ah, yeah.
One night, my dad had been there with his colleague, and they did wellies in paint and painted footsteps from the statue into the men's toilet and back out. Which sounds funny in itself, but I should also mention at the time that not only was my dad the serving police officer who was on duty when he did it. So, you know, these things in my head, it obviously
definitely. It's definitely in the family somewhere, which leads us beautifully onto your sort of alter ego, which is stand-up comedian, isn't it? Is it not?
Well, yeah, vaguely. It's kind of
vaguely.
So it's the stand-up thing. I wouldn't say I'm an experienced comedian. I mean, in reality, I've probably done, I think, 14 gigs. So that's still like a novice. You know, 14 is so. But that was kind of. I never done it to make money. I'm not interested in making a living out of it. You know, I mentioned to you in one of our chats when we were talking the other day that there's people who travel here, there, and everywhere for 40 quid, and they're back at getting home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and getting up at 8 o'clock next day to go to work. And I thought, no, I don't want that.
No.
So it was kind of one of those things. It was a bit kind of bucket listy. I've always thought, fancy having a go at that stand-up comedy. And then there's a wonderful gentleman called Colin Havey, who you know as well.
Yeah, I'd love to get him in the group, actually. Colin would be great in here, wouldn't he?
Yeah, we'd like that. Yeah, we should invite him.
I'd want to be on the friend list, actually. I'll have to find out.
Yeah, we'll check. I've got him anyway, but yeah. And
invite him in. Yeah.
Well, so Colin, he started comedy from nothing. He just thought, I'm going to have a go at this. And he struggled a lot. And he set up a little comedy club, and he's doing really well with it. And I once mentioned to him, I'd love to have a crack. And he went, well, I'm doing a free night. You can have a 5-minute slot. So I turned up and did it. And there was lots of people there who went, you were really good, And there was someone on there who'd done a few more gigs than me. And they kind of went, you were better than him. And I'm like, okay, so maybe. No, so I said to Colin, can I do it again next week?
Wasn't it?
Sorry?
I bet that was a bit of a thrill, wasn't it, to get all that?
I mean, there's about 12 people in the audience, it was nothing big. But they all kind of laughed at where I wanted them to laugh.
Sometimes that's more daunting, though, isn't it? I mean, I've danced and sung all my life, like in bands, and I used to be on stage. And actually, smaller gigs are more daunting than the big ones, I find.
No, I don't know, because it was I don't know whether it's this thing, because, talk to the person at the back of the room. Thing where you're at the front.
Yeah.
Everyone, look at the person at the back of the room, and I kind of used that.
Right.
And then, so the next month, I went back and had another go, another 5-minute slot, not being paid. It was just literally, it's what normally they call it, it's nights where experienced comics will come and do new material, or new comics will have a go. And I came back and I did some different stuff. And Colin went to me, people normally come back with the same stuff second time. And I'm like, okay. And I kind of did it, and then I'd left it then. I thought, well, that's it, I've done it now. That's ticked off my list. And then I started having these thoughts again about something being funny. And then I kind of found somebody else. So I went and did a gig at a little pub in Warrington, and that went quite well.
Which one?
The Albion.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Battersby Lane, is it?
Yeah.
So the guy that runs that comedy night there, a guy called Dave Alperton, again, a lovely fella who's helped me out. And I did that, and then kind of left it again. And then had these little thoughts, and I've done since then. They've only been sort of little pubs, a few in Liverpool, a couple in Manchester, did a venue in Bolton. And it's just kind of a bit of a release, So I kind of see it as, I've worked in kind of customer servicey sort of things for close on 30 years. So my brain's trained to, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that. And when you get up there, you can say what you want.
Yeah.
So, I'm not one of these who, you see these comedies, they'll just find someone in the audience and pick on them and say, you're this and you're that. And maybe I'm scared of doing that, I don't know. So most of what I did was kind of taking the mick out myself, a lot of it. Some of it's kind of a bit visual. So
I was going to say, how would you describe your style, your comedy style?
Some of it's kind of memory based, and some of it is kind of visual. Obviously, I've lived in Liverpool now for kind of 20 years, so I wrote some stuff that I was supposed to do in September, and it's been pulled. And I've wrote about a 10-minute thing about things that people in Liverpool say that as an outsider. And I think personally, I've spoke to a couple of friends, I've kind of spoke to some Scouse friends about it, and they think that's funny.
Give us an example.
So, what was the one I was on about? I've got to think now. So one was, when I first moved to Liverpool, this was based on a true story, part of it. So not long after I moved to Liverpool, I'd parked my car down the road because there was no room on the driveway, so it was down the road. And I came out one night, and one morning I came back to my car, having stayed over with the lady who's now my wife, and someone had slashed 2 tyres and threw paint on the bonnet. And I thought, okay, whatever. Got it sorted. But anyway, advancing on that, what I said was, this had happened at the house. And I came out, my next door neighbour came out, and he went, oh, that's our lass. So when his wife came out, I headbutted her. So if you understand the word our lass, is their way of saying that's unfortunate. But
I've never heard that. That's so weird.
So our lass, yeah. Or our lass, whichever way you want to say it.
Oh, that's so strange. How have I never heard that?
Yeah,
I
unfortunate.
love all those like colloquialisms and weird little local things.
There's some that make me laugh now because obviously my wife, she's from Liverpool, my children are from Liverpool, and I'll say words and they'll go, "What? What does that mean?" We have this discussion now. Like near us, there's a little go down the side of the shops and there's a footpath that takes you from one road through to another road. Now, to me, I don't know. I know you're Warringtonish. I call it a ginnel.
Yeah.
No, they're going, that's an alleyway. I'm going, that's not an alleyway. You can't get a car down it. So it's kind of, there's things like that.
I remember my ex we used to talk about bread rolls a lot because he lived in the north in Chester and all of that sort of area. But he was from like, I think it's Essex way or something like that. And he was like, we just call everything a bread roll. What's all these bloody names for rolls up here? What's going on?
I have arguments with everybody about this.
About bread rolls.
So where I work now, there's two kind of bosses are from Oldham. And they'll go, it's a muffin. I'm like, no, a muffin's got chocolate chips in it.
Bin lid. That was when I was at O2. We used to go Leeds, and they used to have bin lids. That was the first time I'd heard of a bin lid in a bread context.
Oh, a bin lid. No, a bread cake is the lead.
A tea cake as well.
Yeah, bread cake, tea cake.
All that. Oh, so confusing.
I've had a number of life experiences with bread rolls. So, one was when I was about 18ish. I started working for an insurance brokers, and on my first day, I nearly lost my job over a pound cake. So this is a real one as well. I know. So the guy who owned the company, the principal of the insurance broker, he called himself the principal. He'd said to me on the first day, go down and get me lunch for me. Go to the chippy, get me fish chips and peas, and then go to the bakery next door and get me a muffin.
Oh, my God.
I went and did that.
Oh, my God.
There you go. Put stuff down, went down, sat at my desk. It was my first day. And next thing you heard, in this broad sort of rotten stall accent, because that's where he was from, what the fucking hell is this? And I went, so I looked up and I went towards his office thinking, what have I done? And as I got to the door, this big chocolate cake got thrown at me.
Oh, my God.
Hey, what the fuck's that? I went, it's a muffin, Paul. No, it's not. I wanted a muffin, a bread cake. I'm like, what are you asking me for? We had two different things. So I had no idea. So he went, a bread cake. And I'm going, and I'm looking at him thinking, am I crazy or is he? And he's going, you might as well get your stuff and clear off. And I'm like, what have I done wrong? And it turned out he wanted a balm. That was it.
Oh, my God. He needs to get a grip.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? Oh, my God.
And then another experience they had, not long after, I was working in Wrexham in North Wales. And I used to go into a shop there called the Baker's Oven, which is like poor man's Greg's. And he's going there and say, can I have like a cheese and onion balm? And
I love the idea that Greg's could be a rich man's place.
No. Have you been to Wrexham? Apologies if anyone's from Wrexham. And I used to go in and say, can I have a cheese and onion balm? And the woman used to correct me every day. She'd go, do you mean a batch? She would say it to me every day. I'm like, why do you have to correct me? She'd go, do you mean a batch? So I'd had this in my head and it's building up and building up. And I went in one day and she went, do you mean a batch? I went, no, just one. And I was like, today I won. That was a big thing.
A victory. How did she react to that?
I don't think she served me again, to be honest. Yeah, I don't recall. Yeah.
But I'd be the same. This is why I'm, this is part of the rebellion in me. That if somebody tells me someone's pedantic like that, then I want to just like do the complete opposite that they're trying to get me to do. I will rail against the stupidest, littlest things, and it'll do me no good, but I'll do it anyway, and that's just how I am.
And you'll go out and give yourself a little fist bump, even though you've not necessarily won, but you've got that feeling of...
Yeah, you just make yourself look dick.
I do have moments where you'll do something and I think... I did one a while ago in a supermarket, and I basically... I'm sure we're all adults, but I screamed fuck off in a woman's face.
God.
There was a build-up. I should give you some context to this.
I just hope so.
So I'm in the supermarket. Of course, we're all wearing masks, and it's kind of, you keep a safe distance. And I was going on the supermarket, I'm doing my shopping. I've got my little list on my phone, because I've been sent to the shops. And I'm going around, and this woman, every time you was, getting something, if she wanted something, she decided she was getting that thing. So if I was stood there, she'd be going, and she'd literally followed around this shop doing this. And eventually...
I've had enough in the best of times, but now you don't want that, do you?
And I just had enough. and I was in the freezers. I was getting something that's like, I don't know, Yorkshire pudding or something. And they've opened like the little freezer door in Tesco. And as I reached in, she reached into the same compartment. And I'm like, and I just went, fuck off! Like that. And she took a big step back. And afterwards I thought,
Oh,
was
shit.
that extreme? And she stepped back and I stepped away and I wheeled away. And when I got to the end of the aisle, this man appeared alongside me and went, and I thought, uh-oh. And he went,
I'm going to be escorted.
I'm so glad you did that. No, he actually said, I'm so
Really?
glad you've done that because she's been reaching over me throughout the store as well. And I thought, brilliant, I've done the right thing then, you know, but I thought I was going to get smacked in the face or something, you know.
That's
so, yeah.
So I'll be honest, I have definitely, I mean, it does take a while to push me to that point, but I definitely have those kind of, you know, you just get that like surge of like a flash almost, and you're like, rah!
Yeah, and I'm the calmest person there is, but yeah, I found I get it more lately. I've been working in Warrington, Birchwood, so my journey to work every day has been down the M62.
Yeah,
And
well, that's not
I
fun.
love driving. I hate other drivers. So my biggest pet hate, I will tell anyone, I can't stand people who sit in the middle lane of motorways. It absolutely
crazy.
Yeah, and I'll sit behind flashing and beeping them. Yeah, and I will go absolutely mad about it. And I'm just thinking, and I keep saying to myself, just drive to work, just don't worry about what anyone else is doing. And I think I'll set off and I'll see someone doing it, and I'll be catching up to me in the inside lane thinking, I'm not crossing 3 lanes to pass you. And I'm thinking, just drive past calmly, and I'll get alongside them and start beeping and go, what the fuck are you doing? And, you know, gesturing at them. And then I'll go calm. And it'll happen. And then I find when I get to work, I'm all stressed out because of someone else doing their own thing. So,
but that's the thing, isn't it? You know, you're doing yourself an injustice by doing that. You know, you're winding yourself up, but it's not really affecting the person that's annoying you. And the next thing you know, you get to work and you find that person you've been beeping and gesturing at is your new colleague or your new boss.
I've not done that yet. No, I've not done that yet.
You never know, do you?
That's like one of those stories on LinkedIn, you know, that this never happened stories that you see loads of.
Yeah.
You know, the person got in the taxi before me and they told me to F off, and then when I got to the interview, they were there waiting. Yeah. And you're like, no. But yeah.
It would be sod's law though, wouldn't it? Like, you can totally imagine that happening.
I don't think it
had a situation like that in 02. I can only vaguely remember it, but I remember it that being on the way in, there was not actually on the ground yet. There was something with someone that was really behaving very dangerously on the way in. I can't remember what it was, and I was beeping and stuff. And I parked up at the car park, got out of my car, and saw her get out of the car as well. And I'm like, oh, hi.
You're not going to name a shame?
Pardon? I can't remember who it was. Can't remember.
Yeah,
I only vaguely remember it.
Yeah, I can imagine those.
I know that's definitely happened to me. It's weird.
Yeah, I think I've been quite lucky that I've not done that yet, but there's still time, you know. Yeah, I'll probably will at some point put my foot in my mouth. I'm trying to think if I've ever put my foot in my mouth that bad. I did once years ago, actually.
Cool.
So going back to my youth when I was about 15 probably, and I'd gone round to my friends, and my friend had just got a girlfriend and I didn't have a girlfriend, and we'd gone round to his house to play on his Sega Saturn or whatever the console was at that time. So we'd go on and we'd play, I don't know, some stupid combat game or something. Yeah, well, something like that. And of course, her being there, she had to be involved, didn't she? So it ended up, he was sat with her in front of his little square TV playing this game. I was sat behind him like on his bed. And I'm just thinking, she's doing me head in. So I remember us, bear in mind, we're in this bedroom of a normal sort of semi-detached house. And I'm sat behind going, knowing that she can't see me. Then at that point, I looked over to his bedroom window, and his dad was up on a ladder cleaning the bedroom windows. And he seen me going like this, and I'm thinking, you know, that when you go, yeah, like I wasn't doing anything. So yeah, that's probably the nearest to a foot in mouth.
Did he see you?
Yeah, I'm quite certain he did. Yeah,
but he didn't say anything.
I don't think he liked to either, so it's quite kind of worked out.
I was probably thinking, yeah, go on, son.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, but I've not done anything like where I've met someone and then met them. No, I don't think that's happened.
You know, this is going to happen tomorrow now, just because we've tempted it.
Yeah.
So other let's see what other stuff we've got you decided, or you saw a Facebook memory you've got here that of your own from 2018, where your New Year's resolution was not to be a passenger.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that now?
Well,
2
it's the
years.
thing. I think I said to you. I don't know if I full. My son's just appeared at the window of the car. It goes on the window. So I mentioned that I'm not the only one. He came out the house to go like that on the glass, and I walked back in. Yeah, don't be a passenger. Kind of. I think it was one of those things. I kind of thought that, I could have probably been more than I've been now. If I'd have really set myself to it. But you kind of, I'll do a job, get me money, go home. I kind of thought like for years, and I thought in 2018, no, I'm going to stop being a passenger. I'm going to actually get out and achieve something. So I don't know whether I did because I'm still, I'm not like a senior manager or anything like that. I don't think I've got any ambitions to do that really.
Is that even important to you?
No, it's not, and I mean, maybe I started doing the stand-up in sort of 2017 or 18, so maybe that was it a bit. I don't know, but it's kind of the idea of being a passenger. It's very easy to just drift along with everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, 2020, I did make some big changes. I mean, I left O2 after 19 and a half years. And strangely, when I left, I was doing a job that I really loved for the first time in 19 and a half years, So the role I was doing, I absolutely loved. And I was on a secondment, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I took a seconded role and then took another seconded role from that seconded role. And I loved it. And they kept saying to me, if we can make the job permanent, would you stay? And I'm like, 100%. And they went, we can't guarantee you till all the redundancies are done. And I thought, you know what? It's not worth the chance.
Right.
So I left and moved on to something a little different.
So great.
Recently found out that 2 weeks after I left, the position came up that I wanted and someone else is doing it. So for a little while, I thought, what could have been? But then it's that thing again.
Like you don't know, do you? Yeah, exactly. You don't know where that would have taken you that perhaps wouldn't have been ideal. You just don't know.
I mean, this job I'm doing now, when I started doing it, I kind of thought, I don't think it's for me, but times as they are, I'm grateful to have a job. I'll stick with it. And then now I'm at the stage where I'm thinking, there's actually no stress involved in it. It's quite an easy kind of, I don't want to say menial, and I hope none of my bosses are in this group, but it's kind of a job I can do very easily. So I'm kind of, is it worth the added stresses of everything else?
Yeah.
I'm not like,
that's like really important, isn't it? Particularly when you've been through a lot in your life. You've had, a few years where you've been trying to figure out, how to be good at life. Sometimes it's good just to let things be for a while and figure out, put your energy into your family and, enjoying life and just chilling out a little bit. And I don't think, I know what you mean about deciding not to be a passenger. I certainly did that a few years ago when I went freelance, and I'm a lot more ambitious than I thought I was. But I also, I've got big plans, and I move through life, quite assertively now. But I also have to keep reminding myself to enjoy those moments, the now. And if you don't enjoy the journey, it's pointless.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's kind of, as well, you worked in O2 as well in different roles, but when you're kind of in a role when you're on the phones in any call centre probably, nobody ever go into a careers advisor and went, I want to work in a call centre. It's kind of, if you can't do anything else, you're going to end up in a call centre. That's almost the way. And you get used to this way of, like, you get all these different targets and you've got to bounce off this target, that target. And then you get a target on how long you can spend going to the toilet, and you get a target on when you can go get a cup of coffee. And I kind of, that was ingrained in me, and I kind of got to this role now. I work for Hermes now. I'm not ashamed to say. It's, I've only been there 6-7 months, and it seems a great company to work for. The role I do is, I don't think the title fits it because it's called a customer resolution advisor. Right. So that would make you think I do something important. And all it simply is when somebody goes on the website and puts something in, I've not had my parcel. And all I do is investigate the journey of the parcel from when it left the depot to when it's so-called reached that customer. And as such, I don't have to resolve anything. This is why I think, because all I'll do is say, it got lost here, it got damaged here, or the courier left it in your wheelie bin 300 yards down the road, which is a popular one. And I sent it back, and then somebody else breaks it to the customer, basically.
Right.
So it's kind of, there's not a lot of stress in it.
Yeah.
And I kind of do at the moment a week working at home, a week in the office or whatever. But I've only got used to the fact that when I want to go to the toilet, I just get up and go to the toilet. And when I want to go for coffee, I can go and make a coffee. And, if one day I want to come in, I'm saying I'm going to be half an hour late in, I'll stay half an hour late at night. You can do that. And I'm like, this is great. And it kind of...
This is the thing, that sort of, the kind of, you're only allowed so many minutes per day to go to the loo. My time on the phones just missed that. So I left O2, went to LSG, and I was training people who on the sales floor, for example, who were allowed 12 minutes a day of natural break. And I was like, nah, sorry.
How can you dictate that?
I know, exactly. I'd be like,
yeah.
I'll go to the loo as many times as I need, especially because I drink a lot of water, and on the phones, like, drink even more water. So I'd be just constantly back at 2.
I remember
if I went to 14, 15 minutes, I wouldn't care.
I had a manager a few years ago, and they once said to me, pulled up this wonderful little table Excel sheet, and there was red next to my name. On average, you take personal break each day, you're taking 17 minutes. Why is that? And I went, because I need 17 minutes. Well, what could you possibly do that needs 17 minutes? I've got no idea. Might be I need the toilet. I said, so I said, if you're telling me, if you're saying, they say, well, you shouldn't be using more than 10 minutes a day. I said, well, that's your target. That's not my target.
Yeah.
And I kind of had this big discussion. I kind of said, and I just kind of ignored it. And then I started rebelling a bit by deliberately taking 11 minutes and things like that, Yeah. And eventually they kept saying to me, you're taking more personal, you need to go to the toilet in your own time. I went, when is my own time then? Because how does that work? What's your time? What's my time? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of...
They're needing the loo desperately while you're talking to a customer. Like, that's not good, going to help good service, is it?
But yeah, I used to find you get something like you have a manager who's queue busting or whatever they want to call it. And I remember once I'd been away from my desk a little while, and I think I'd just been for a walk round for the 5 minutes, just to kind of... And I got back and the phone immediately rang. And everything all right? Yeah, fine. You've been on personal break for like 8 minutes. I went, sorry, I had diarrhea. And she hung up on me straight away. And that was it. So, it's kind of simple ways to shut people, isn't there, I suppose?
I forgot about all that. It's been so many years since I did that kind of job. And that phone call of, are you all right?
Do you need any help?
Thanks. I used to...
Yeah, you say to me, need help. Yeah. You say to them, need help, and then nobody come and help you.
Well, there is that as well. I remember that. But I remember there was some people like you were nice to when because you knew that it was the job and they were doing it in the right way and so on. But then there'd be one or two people who you think, I just don't like the way you do this. So I'd quite often pick up the phone and get the, yeah, right. And you go, yeah. I'd go, yeah, I'm fine. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah. I don't want to tarnish people with the same brush. I mean, there was a number of managers in there. I know there's one in this group who was actually, I'll stick up for, who was different. Neil McLaughlin. For a little while, I remember he was my manager. And this was in the days when we did customer service there. And I remember this one thing that happened where I was actually sat available waiting for a call. And I was playing some weird game on the computer, like you did. And another manager picked up on this and went straight over to Neil, going, he's doing the games on his computer, he's doing this, that, and another. And Neil turned round. I think where's the effect of where he takes 70 plus calls a day, he's got 97% call quality, I don't give a damn what he's doing. And this manager went wandering off like that, and I thought, I like him. Yeah. I didn't like her, that other manager.
And then he went off selling sweets. He's now got a sweet empire.
Yeah. Not seen any sweets. I mean, if you're watching Neil, just saying we've not seen any, Yeah, sweet empire. Why not? That's very.
I know. Yeah, he's done really well with it over the years.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, because goes to a lot of businesses and so on, and does the whole pick and mix thing. And God, I used to remember I loved that when my next job after O2 used to come in there, and it was great, really good.
I think it's one of those as well. And I think back to when I was younger. I remember this careers advisor once said to me, either be a hairdresser or a butcher. And I went, what? And he went, people will always have haircuts, people will always want meat. It's simple as that. I mean, obviously this was the 80s. And you don't think anything about it now. And then now you think, God, I wish I'd listened.
I wish I'd trained to be a plumber.
Yeah.
Because
And the thing is,
totally decent plumbers.
and a female plumber, there's a lot of people who won't want a man in the house.
Yeah, true.
So, it works out. But I say to my son now, my son, he's 13, he's kind of getting to stage, he chooses options soon. And he kind of, for years, I'm going to be a footballer, And I'm like, not saying you're not good, but don't build on that. But he's now at the stage, he wants to be a mechanic. And I'm like, people will always have cars, go and do it.
Yeah.
And I only wish I'd listened to that advice myself back then,
Yeah.
And
the innocence of youth and the wisdom of age, though, isn't it? Imagine how dangerous we'd be if we had our wisdom now at 21. Bloody hell. Dangerous, wouldn't we?
I don't remember 21. I can't remember anything about 21. No, I don't know. What was I doing at 21? I don't even know.
It's probably for the best, knowing you, that you don't remember.
I don't know. I don't remember anything about 21. No.
I only vaguely remember it.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we've managed to fill over an hour of really good chit chat, and I've really enjoyed this.
I'm amazed because I said to you early on when kind of my name got picked out that all these people coming in who've got businesses and they seem all to have profound outlooks and everything and seem clever people, and I'm like, I've not got anything to talk about really, but yeah,
we've got loads to talk about. We could do another hour. Well, I think let's get if you start doing comedy slots again. God knows when that might be, but make sure tell us in the group because there'll be some people local, to this area who'll want to go see that. I imagine.
Yeah, I don't want to set their expectations or anything, but
let's try and get Colin in the group as well. That'd be great because he's always been a bit of a rebel, hasn't he? He's always done his own thing, quite sort of.
He just bought some tarts and Doc Martens, so yeah.
Oh wow, that sounds.
He got drunk over Christmas or New Year or something, and said, "I've just bought myself some tarts and Doc Martens." He put a picture on the other day, and I'm like, "They're amazing." I'm really like,
brilliant.
I don't know whether that's a life crisis. Yeah,
I can only picture Cole like back in the day, like 15 years, sort of 10, 15 years ago.
When he had hair. Yeah.
No, he didn't have hair then.
No, he's not there for a long time, really, has he? If he joins the group and sees us talking about him not having hair now, we're going to feel really bad. But yeah. Yeah. But yes, we should invite him, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Good. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Matt. And keep sharing in the group because you're one of our top contributors. And frankly, it's just fantastic, the stuff that you put on there. Some of it's funny, some of it's serious. And I think that's a really good balance and a good mix because people are really getting to know who you are.
I think, you need a balance. I mean, my outlook on life has always been, I will either laugh at you or laugh with you.
Yeah.
But I think on the other side now, I think if I need to, I'll cry with you as well. But, I'd prefer to laugh with you.
Yeah.
That's the way it's got to be.
You get more empathy as you get older, don't you? And you go through the shit and know how it feels.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
It was lovely to see you again.
And you. After all these years.
I know. Amazing, isn't it, what the internet does?
I know. Brings people closer.
Well, it lets you choose as well who you talk to.
That's true. Yeah.
Because if you see something, I'm not going to go on about the mood hoovers again, but you see people approaching you in work and you're like, so you just press a button on the phone quickly and go, thank you for calling out to walk straight past you. And then, But anyway, that's
Thank you, Matt. That's so good. Have a great afternoon and evening, and we'll see you soon.
You look after yourself. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
See you. Bye.